and welcome to this week's Midweek warm-up. We are still in Shelby, and
the lighting's still bad.
The lighting in this particular room, I mean, it's fine, except not for a camera. So we're working with what we have. And now I'm blind because I looked at the shop light.
It's apparently we have a shop light.
Anyway, take it away.
No Ernie here. Oh. Okay, so we're in chapter 5, and so if you remember last time, chapter 4, Eliphaz was going through and saying basically, you screwed up, it's your fault.
You must have done something wrong.
That's the Hebrew thought process, and today we're going to see something different from him. But it's not necessarily prophecy, so I don't think it is prophecy when you read. But here we go. And he reads it. Call out now, is there anyone who will answer you? And to which of the holy ones will you turn? For wrath kills a foolish man, and envy slays a simple one. I have seen the foolish taking root, but suddenly I cursed his dwelling place. His sons are far from safety. They are crushed in the gate. And there is no deliverer, because the hungry eat up his harvest, taking it even from the thorns, and a snare snatches that substance. For affliction does not come from the dust, nor does trouble spring from the ground. Yet man is born to trouble, as the sparks fly upward. But as for me, I would seek God, and to God I would commit my cause. Who does great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number. He gives rain on the earth and sends water on the fields. He sets on high those who are lowly, and those who mourn are lifted to safety. He frustrates the devices of the crafty, so their hands cannot carry out their plans. He catches the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the cunning comes quickly upon them. They meet with darkness in the daytime, and grope at noontime as in the night. But he saves the needy from the sword, and the mouth of the mighty from their hand. So the poor have hope, and injustice shuts her mouth. Behold, happy is the man whom God corrects. Therefore do not despise the chastening of the Almighty. For he bruises, but he binds up. He wounds, but his hands make whole. He shall deliver you in 6 troubles. Yes, in 7 no evil shall touch you. In famine he shall redeem you from death, and in war from the power of the sword. You shall be hidden from the scourge of the tongue, and you shall not be afraid of destruction when it comes. You shall laugh at destruction and famine, and you shall not be afraid of the beasts of the earth. For you shall have a covenant with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with you. You shall know that your tent is in peace. You shall visit your dwelling and find nothing amiss. You shall also know that your descendants shall be many, and your offspring like the grass of the earth. You shall come to the grave at a full age, as a sheaf of grain ripens in its season. Behold, this we have searched out. It is true. Hear it and know for yourself. So obviously, if you read the rest of this book, you'll know that most of these things do happen, because he does have offspring like the grass of the earth and lives to a very old age. But his friend's not saying it because he's saying, yep, I know this because God's giving me a vision saying you're going to blah, blah, blah. He's just spouting platitudes at this point. And anybody out there know people do that to people?
Yeah.
All the time. I
feel like especially it's hard when you're trying to encourage someone and you don't really know what else to say. You know, they're going through a really hard time, and I mean, what else can you say except that God is faithful, and I don't know how he's going to take care of it, but I know he will, and that sometimes does come across as just a platitude, like I'm just trying to calm you down, but there's no substance to it.
Very platitude.
But I have a question, and it's like in the middle. When he says,
don't do much.
In verse 19, he shall deliver you in 6 troubles. Yes, in 7, no evil shall touch you. Is that kind of a reference to God's work in creation? Because it's 6 days of work and 1 day of rest?
It is a reference to creation, and thereby all Hebraisms are built upon the number 6, 7, or 3, and 12. And so you have 6 being the number of 1 less than perfection, because that's when the earth was created. But the 7th day was perfection, so 6 days is when everything is done for the work. 7th day is when everything is complete.
So 7 is completion and 3 is perfection.
Yes.
Okay. Numerology. It's one of those slippery slopes that, yes, there's some stuff to be gleaned, but I mean, just take it with a grain of salt and don't obsess over how many letters there are in each verse, and that means this deep thing that nobody else noticed because I counted.
It's like the number of man is not going to be understood until it happens. So don't try to figure out what it is. But going back to Job here in chapter 5, he starts off here talking to Job, and he's saying all these weird things, like, what in the world is a snare snatching a substance from? Or the hungry is eating at the harvest, taking it from the thorns. A lot of things just don't really make sense in English, so I wouldn't get stuck on them too much. But his idea here is that people get what they deserve, basically, which is still going on to what he had previously to say.
Well, and that bad things happen.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a part of life.
Yeah, in verse 7 it says, yet man is born to trouble, as the sparks fly upward. And that's one of the things that doesn't make sense also is, why would you say as the sparks fly upward? Well, it's because sparks go up when you have a fire.
Not so much when you have a grinder. They go wherever it's angled.
Yeah, they spray out at a right angle from wherever you're grinding, which it's bad on your arm. Wear long sleeves.
The point being that in Hebrew, especially, that it's about word pictures. It's about connecting an idea to something tangible that people all know. So saying, yet a man is born to trouble as the sparks fly upward is like, it's obvious. It's just a part of life. And there's nothing you can do about it. And everyone should know it, because if you've ever had a fire, which you would have had to at this time, obviously, to cook and stay warm, you would know the sparks go up. So I guess the idea is it's a foregone, not conclusion, but it's an understood concept. And he's just kind of emphasizing it. Like, don't forget, this is part of life.
Well, he's saying something that should be obvious.
Yeah.
Like saying that a brick should be hard, or that bears should poop in the woods. Or zip yards, apparently. But that's the way it goes. And so he's going through here talking about that. And then he finally doesn't give something useful here and saying, yeah, all these things happen and they're not good, but go to God for it. And this is probably the best advice given in this entire book until you get to his fourth friend. And it's saying, yeah, God's in control. God is going to take care of things. God is amazing. But he kind of contradicts himself again later, which we'll find out more. But for now, he's doing just fine. He's saying, God's faithful. God will take care of you. And he'll take care of you through all these different things. And so, like here it has, he catches the wise in their own craftiness. The counsel of the cunning comes quickly upon them. Or they meet with darkness in the daytime and grope at noontime as in the night. But he saves the needy. And so you have all these people that humanly are very smart, very important, very prosperous, yada, yada, yada. And God's still bigger and better than they are and takes care of them if they're willing to lean on him. Mm-hmm. In spite of their own attitudes and actions.
I don't have anything to add.
That's strange.
I will, I'm sure.
She didn't sleep very much last night.
It's true. Can you tell? Okay.
Beauty sleep?
Yeah, that doesn't exist.
Okay, so in verse 17 it goes on and has, behold, happy is the man whom God corrects. Therefore do not despise the chastening of the Almighty. So I have to imagine that came across pretty harsh on Job at this point, because Job just had his entire family die and all his stuff. And then his health. And he's just sat here for a week with his friend, scraping his boils with broken glasses.
Gross.
Which does not sound smart. But he goes through all that, and then his friend says, be happy because God's taking care of you.
But, okay, so if you combine what Eliphaz said in chapter 4 and what we've gone through in chapter 5, he's saying, you must have sinned, you must have done something wrong. I don't know what it is, but remember the things you've told other people, and remember your faith in God, that you leaned on him before, and you always told people to lean on God and seek God. So do that yourself. And remember, like in the beginning of 5 here, as he's getting down to verse 8, like we said, sparks fly upwards, man is born to trouble. It's expected. Like, your life is not, I think there's maybe kind of a tone of, you've had it pretty easy up until now, and I mean, granted, this is really hard and it's a lot at once, but it was going to happen eventually. Like, there had to have been, your life can't be that perfect all the time. Like, you should have anticipated something was going to happen, but God is still good, and God is the one that can, I guess that's the point that I like about what Eliphaz has to say, is that even though he's coming at it not necessarily the right way, or he's kind of throwing in his own understanding, his conclusion is God chastens us, God corrects us, God allows things, but he's still God, and he's still in control, he's still capable, he's still good, he's still faithful. And so basically, I know that sucks, but move on, dude. It's been, I mean, is that kind of what?
Yeah, Eliphaz is right in saying that God is faithful and God will take care of things, God will provide for all these things. Perfectly right. Except he's still coming at it from the wrong perspective and saying, you did something wrong still, you're getting screwed over for it. And that's not
punished
accurate. That's why I said, I've been doing lots of screwing.
Oh my goodness.
Flaw She-Rock. You're no fun. Anyway. And so he's going through all that and having problems. And Eliphaz is saying still that it's your fault, but God will take care of you through it. And once again, he hits Job below the belt here in 25 with saying, well, in 24 through 25 and 26 here. And you shall know that your tent is in peace. And which, if you remember chapter 1, his tent was not at peace because he kept having bad news after bad news. You shall find your dwelling and find nothing amiss. And while his house fell down on his kids. That's not something amiss. Or is something amiss. And 25, you shall also know that your descendants shall be many. All his kids are dead. And your offspring like the grass of the earth. How do you have offspring if they're all dead? And you shall come to the grave at a full age. And I'm pretty sure he already said multiple times that he wishes he had died. So
yeah,
his friend is trying to be helpful, but he's not really being all that terribly helpful because he's, as I said earlier, he's giving platitudes about, oh, God will give you blah, blah, blah. You know, yeah, God might. Or it could be that, for all he knows, he was going to die there.
I don't know.
Like his kids.
It seems to me almost too coincidental, all the things that Eliphaz says in this chapter that do happen. And maybe he was just saying platitudes in his own, like he may not have noticed or realized, but it's possible that God was still speaking through him and giving him those things to say, even if he wasn't necessarily aware of it, right?
Yeah, you can get that from this point, yeah, but he talks again later, and it's very clear he just doesn't get it. We'll get that later on.
But God uses people who don't get it all the time.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, all the time. Because, like it says, God uses the, what does it say on the last page? Catches the wise in their own craftiness. Maybe it's not in this
it's not there.
section. Anyway, it's
the magic.
It's the same concept as he catches the wise in their own craftiness in verse 13, because God uses the foolish things of man or of the earth to confound the wise, and he likes that kind of contradiction to our logic because it shows who he is and how much greater and wiser and smarter and stronger he is. And so I could see this being something that would fall in that category, that Eliphaz might not have realized, but God was speaking through him.
God still works it out, and it works out for Job's good, which talks about in the New Testament, but it doesn't mean that Eliphaz is right in what he's saying entirely, because he's not. But he's trying. So that's good at least. And sometimes it's
Yeah.
good to try, but sometimes it's bad to say stupid things.
Well, that's true. I have a really bad, it's not necessarily a habit, but I want, in situations where someone is hurting, I want to help and I want to have some wisdom or some thing that's going to help or fix it or, comfort them. And I usually don't. And so I might try and say something, and usually I end up saying things wrong. And then, like, I don't know, just for example, a family member of ours, kind of distant, that I had only, I think, met once, had passed away. And we, and see, even now I'm laughing. Not because of that situation, but, stop.
There's more editing coming.
The family member who was survived, I guess, I was on the phone with that person the day it happened. I think it was the day it happened. And I have this automatic kind of vernacular on the phone when I get uncomfortable or when I get, like, I don't know what to say. And so at the end of the conversation, I said, "Have a good day," and hung up. And I'm sure that this person, like, I'm sure that they understood, but at the same time, on my part, I'm like, I can't believe that those words came out of my mouth. And even though the person who passed away, I didn't know, was not particularly, emotional for me, the point of the conversation was to support that person, and I failed so miserably. Obviously, I still talk to that person now, so apparently they don't hold it too much against me, but it's one of those, I guess, even in our striving to help, even in, like, Eliphaz wants to help, and I think he's kind of trying to get to some good points. He doesn't have to understand in order for God to be good. He doesn't have to understand what God is saying through him or what purpose there is to his being there even. He just has to be there. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So Eliphaz, yes, is saying things that are true. He's talking a lot. And like Emily was saying, sometimes it's saying things are good, but sometimes it's just not right to say something even if it's true at certain times. This is really where Eliphaz is. Yes, it's true that he said all these things. Yes, they're all true things that he's saying here, but it's just not the time to say it. And so, as we discussed a few weeks ago, he was being a really good friend when he sat there for a week and didn't say anything, and then he opened his mouth. And so that's really what we need to look at as we continue forward. Is there are things we can say that are true. Doesn't mean we should say them. And that's where Eliphaz is. God is faithful. There's no question on that. But once you start putting conditions or talking about what's entailed with God being faithful, it's not necessarily helpful for people to hear that. Because, like Emily was saying, if someone dies and you say, "Oh, don't worry, God's faithful. He'll take care of you through it. Have a good day." They may not be having a good day.
Well, and I wouldn't expect them to have a good day. But it's not untrue that God is faithful, and there's nothing wrong with wishing someone a good day or saying, "I hope you have a good day." But
there's times to say, times not to.
Yeah. And like I said, that was kind of an autopilot sort of thing, being on the phone. But anyway,
it's easier to do on the phone also because you don't see them. But
yeah,
Eliphaz didn't have that problem. His phone was broken.
he didn't have service yet.
His tin can didn't have a string yet, or tin can. Smoke signals.
Spark signals.
They went upward at least. Okay, so anything else for today?
I don't know. That's thoroughly embarrassing and
I think we're going off on tangents.
kind of depressing. But there's a platitude. God is still good, even when we don't understand, even when we fumble our way through trying to help someone. God can still use that, and I think He will, because our heart is in the right place. As long as it's not we're here to condemn you and tell you you're so awful and terrible.
You're terrible and awful. Bad woman.
Anyway, I think that
She thinks the platitude for the day is God is good no matter what. There we go. Problem solved.
platitudes can still be true
They are true.
and
But
heartfelt.
they're still platitudes. So don't necessarily use them all the time.
Well, it may not always be the thing that somebody needs to hear.
So listen to the Holy Spirit's leading, because God will give you the right words.
Or if you don't have the right words,
Don't talk.
that's a hard thing for me. Don't talk.
You don't like silence.
I'm very uncomfortable with silence.
I don't mind silence.
Which ends up getting me in trouble a lot. So
Yeah.
I talk too much.
Yeah, we're at 23 minutes now.
All right.
Anyway, have a good day today, and you'll get to see what we're doing here in Shelby sometime.
Hopefully soon. We do have our videos in line, trying to finish editing and get them up. So we have
Someday.
3 or 4
Not Sunday.
someday. So bear with us. Pray for us, please. And
Except cash check and credit card.
feel free to leave a comment and
Or donation.
laugh at us. And we will see you or be seen next week. Hopefully we'll chat with you all in between.
Not in Shelby.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be in Shelby next week. So
Hopefully.
hopefully the job's done by then. So we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.